Hide your kids, hide your wives, my boys, because it's time to talk a little bit about a big old buff to our favorite champion in Raid Shadow Legends, and that is our boy, the Cock. That's right, Galleus got a big buff, and I am so excited to test out to see just how massive. I don't know how many cock jokes am I going to be able to fit in here. We're going to find out, but just how massive this beautiful cock has become. So I'm super excited for this video. He needed a buff really badly. And we're going to see exactly what he can do and how best to build him in a second. But first and foremost, let's take a look at what exactly Plarium did when they finally decided to buff this legendary, mythical champion. So let's take a look here. We've got it up here. What exactly do they do? I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see if I can make it a little bit larger. There we go. Look at that. I know how to work Brave/Chrome. Okay, first and foremost, what have they changed here? So on the A1, they've increased the damage multiplier. Awesome. Then this is pretty big in the first form. They have given him an extra turn on his ability that gives increased defense and revive on death. So that is freaking awesome. We'll take a look on that in a second. And then really the biggest changes have come in this second form, and they are monstrous. First and foremost, they've made it so that he can't be resisted for placing decreased defense debuffs, which is insane. That's going to be huge. They've increased the damage multiplier on this A2. And then for the A3, they've added ignore block damage and ignore potentially 20% of each target's defense if they have no buffs, and increase the damage multiplier, which is also insane. And then the other thing is they've changed his passive, and we'll get into this in just a second because this is a massive change. So overall, really big changes to this champion. This is always good. I love when it's not just a damage multiplier increase, but when it's actually, hey, we're going to look at this guy's kit and we're going to figure out how we can make him actually better beyond just increasing damage, right? So speaking of the kit, let's take a full overview of exactly what Galleus does and why I think he could be a champion you see quite a bit in Arena going forward. So first and foremost, on the first form, attacks one enemy on the A1, places a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. When counterattacking, the damage inflicted by the skill is based on this champion's defense and the enemy's max HP. So pretty cool here. First form is pretty much meant to be kind of a Hydra form. It feels like, where he's really going to be good in Hydra. You wouldn't really see this necessarily in Arena too much, but basing damage on the A1 on defense and enemy max HP, pretty huge. And when he counterattacks, that's where he gets that enemy max HP hit. Take a look at the A2. AoE places provoke for 1 turn. If the target's a boss, places provoke for 2 turns instead. Also places an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn and a counterattack buff on them for 2 turns. So again, this form really more meant for boss fights, and I think specifically Hydra. You got provoke there. You've got an unkillable. You've got counterattack. Pretty sick stuff. A3, this is the first thing that they've changed, and this is such a massive change when you think about Arena. All they did was they added an extra turn. That's it. It's incredible how much of a difference that makes for some of these champions. But his A3 fully restores all allies destroyed max HP. Again, great for Hydra. Also places a revive on death buff and a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns, then grants an extra turn. Man, oh man, he is self-buffing, guys. He brings his own increased defense. He revive on death everybody. He restores max HP, which isn't usually super important in Arena, but could be if somebody has Life Harvest, right? And then he grants the extra turn, which lets you switch forms. So massive for Arena, so massive. Let's take a look at the passive. Reflects 50% of the damage this champion receives back to the attacker. If the attacker is a boss, reflects 100% of the damage this champion receives. Also heals this champion by 50% of the damage received. So this first form, honestly, I mean, sounds pretty good, right? Sounds pretty good for boss stuff. For Hydra, it does legitimately sound appealing when you're doing some max damage A1 hits every time he counterattacks. You could maybe put him in a team where you get a lot of counterattack going, maybe Elaz, maybe Valkyrie, depending on what champions you have. So yeah, pretty interesting first form, but really what we're looking at here is we're looking at what he can do in this second form. So That's what we care about, or at least I do from an arena perspective. And this is where it gets juicy, as you heard me read out. So again, self-buffing grants the extra turn. You switch into the second form, and now we start to cook. And I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to with Galleus is he is the right affinity to counter so many of the most challenging champions in arena right now. We're talking Siegfried, and what we're really talking is nice. And I think this guy could be a hardcore nice counter in this second form. So let's talk about why. On the A1, attacks one enemy, places an extra hit on all enemies under decreased defense debuffs. Oh, cool. Well, where do we get the decreased defense debuffs? We get it from the A2. Attacks all enemies. Before attacking, places a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. This effect cannot be resisted. Huge that you don't have to have accuracy on that aspect of it. Now, interestingly enough, for the second part, you do need accuracy, right? Damage increases by 10% for each enemy under a decreased defense debuff. Also steals 20% of the turn meter from each enemy, but that indeed requires accuracy. So you're going to want to build this champion with a little bit of accuracy for sure, and we'll get into why with the A3. But even just here with stealing turn meter, you're going to need accuracy. So this is the one part of his kit that, you know, it's always an interesting choice what Plarium does here, right? Like, they've obviously improved him drastically. My whole thing is, like, why not just make the whole thing, you know, unresistible, like irresistible, I should say, or not have him require accuracy at all. That's the only part of this kit that doesn't really make sense, where part of it is unresistible or irresistible. The other part of it isn't. Maybe it's a balance thing. We'll find out. Maybe it's necessary to keep him balanced, because of course you could really pump other stats significantly more if you didn't have to worry about accuracy at all. But I don't know, just a thought. Let's take a look at the A3. Attacks all enemies. So he's got 2 AoEs. Will ignore 20% of each target's defense if they have no buffs. Ignores block damage buffs. Thank you, God. We need more champions that do this because of how insanely overpowered Nice is in his second form with that block damage. There really aren't a ton of good champions that match up affinity-wise that can really have a chance to take down Nice in that second form once he gets that block damage and counterattack buff up, right? Well, now we have something that can actually address that. Damage increases by 15% for each buff on each target. Decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 2 turns. What an incredible skill this is. We're getting a decreased duration of buffs, which is massive. If there are buffs up, we get an increase of damage if there are buffs up. So maybe someone has protected buffs, like protected CFs throwing out, you know, protected speed and protected increased defense. Well, now we're getting a massive potential increase in damage for each buff. And then they've covered the fact that, hey, if somebody doesn't have buffs, you're still going to do absolutely an increase in damage here, right? You're going to ignore 20% of each target's defense if they have no buffs. Just awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome sounding skill. I cannot wait to see how this does damage-wise. Again, requires accuracy to land this decreased duration of all enemy buffs, you know, but at least he does get the ignore resistance part that makes it a little less intensive. Again, my thoughts on this is this never should have been put in the game, you know, with mythicals, but whatever. It is what it is at this point. So just a really, really, really good kit. And now let's take a look at that passive, because this is where it starts to get actually bonkers, right? Unholy experiment. He certainly is. Immune to stun, freeze, sleep, fear, true fear, provoke, sheep, and petrification debuffs. Oh my God. They have given us another champion that is immune to sheep. The first, I think, was Lamasu, if I remember correctly. Now we've got another. And the difference is this guy is a massive damage dealer with a good affinity. And on top of that, he can't be controlled in any way, shape, or form. This is like Leorius, if Leorius were on steroids, because just ignoring being immune to sheep means you don't have to build him in pinpoint. You can build him in Stone Skin and Savage or Stone Skin and Lethal and not worry. And again, because you're landing these debuffs and they can't be resisted, he was a sheep magnet even before he got the buff when he didn't do a lot of damage. This is massive, guys. Now, I've said in past videos that I don't know if this is good for the game overall, right? It's a really tough decision to give champions just the ability to completely ignore effects, right? I will also say that I still think sheep is a massive problem with the amount of strength it has. You certainly see it less because of Pinpoint. You certainly see it less because of things like Lightning Cage and champions like Empress, but it's still an issue. And it's still an issue because when it happens, it's extremely hard for you to come back in that fight. It is basically that RNG chance where if it happens to you and it happens to the wrong champion, you're pretty much going to be guaranteed a loss. And that's not fun. And that's why it's still a debuff that needs to be balanced. So putting a champion in here that is completely immune to it is both good and bad, in my opinion. Good because I truly hate that freaking debuff and think it takes a lot of the fun out of the game, but also bad because now we are in a really insane power creep area, right? You know, the other thing with Galleus too is similar to Nice. His damage dealing form for Arena is in the second form, so you're not locking him out. You can lock him out in that first form. It's really not going to make much of a difference because he can just switch on over. Really, you have to try to lock, block active skills on him. So just something to be aware of with this champion. But the other also crazy part of this passive is randomly resets the cooldown of one of this champion's skills whenever they kill an enemy. Occurs once per skill. I mean, holy crap. They basically just went completely apeshit with this champion. They were like, yeah, you thought this champion was 3.5 inches, you're wrong. He's 15 inches. This is the absolute monster dong that you've always dreamed of, the cock of your dreams, folks, because he certainly seems to be the cock of my dreams. So anyway, the kid is nuts. We'll see how the multipliers play out, but just a massive rework, massive buff, desperately needed. Again, really hope he's the nice counter that I've been looking for, because God knows we need as many of those as we can get right now. And if you don't believe me, just go and watch the live arena video I did recently, or a live stream I did, where, I mean, I just could not kill a Nice no matter what I did. Dude just did not want to die. Managed to end up winning the fight, but it was basically impossible once he got in that second form. It took forever, and he just kept reviving people. It's just broken. It's a broken mechanic, broken champion. And then finally, he gets an ally defense in all battles, or cool, not a bad thing. Who really cares, though? So let's take a look at how to build him, all the masteries, all that fun stuff. I don't even need to search for him. He's literally right here. I have a +2 Galleus, as you can see right here. First and foremost, let's talk relics. Now, you got a couple different options here. You don't need to go on to submission because he's immune to basically everything. Although, funny enough, you probably still could, just to reflect things back at people, right? Again, he's immune. I would imagine the reflect still works, that it checks first. I'm not 100% on that. I still don't think it's the right choice for him, but right now, I've got a cat's gaze on him. This is a valid option because he is a defense-based champion. He's not going to have super high HP, and it's nothing wrong with getting a little more ignore defense for those abilities and also some more crit damage. Now, the other thing that you could put on him if you are lucky enough to have this, and I might do it for this video actually, is a Chrono Cube. And I'll tell you why. I did a video on the Chrono Cube recently, and I also had some wonderful comments kind of explaining other people's experiences with the Chrono Cube. But one of the big thing is a lot of times on mythicals, it's not necessarily the best choice, depending on the mythical, because if they don't have an extra turn ability, if they use the Chrono Cube and it procs, and then they try to extra turn to switch into a different form, their turn ends, right? Well, here's the thing with Galleus. It's not going to work that way, because this first form, you literally would start with something that's granting you an extra turn. And Plarium did the right thing here in that they prioritize the extra turn from the skill counting as opposed to the extra turn from the Chrono Cube. So with Galleus, you can hypothetically do this to get into an extra turn, right? Then you can switch forms, which also grants an extra turn, which should be prioritized as well. And now suddenly you're in his damage dealing form with an increased defense buff, right? With revive on everybody. And hypothetically now you could literally go back to back where you go a AoE, place the decreased defense, possibly steal turn meter. You're not worrying about getting sheeped. You got great affinity. You start doing some nasty damage here. And oh wait, you go right back into another AoE, and you're potentially ignoring block damage, decreasing any buffs that are left. I mean, there is potentially massive synergy here. And then if you kill people, you're resetting your skills. So you know what? I am going to try him with a Chrono Cube because I think it could be absolutely busted broken, provided he does enough damage. So those two relics, I think, are the ones that make the most sense. You could also do something like, hypothetically, a Rethi Coronet, where you are placing debuffs over the length of a fight. I don't think it makes the most sense in Arena, but it's possible. If you have a Malefic Talon, you can do something like this. If you don't have any of the other big boys, you can certainly do Orbital Transfixion. But to me, cat's gaze, and Chrono Cube, if you're lucky enough to have it, sound like some of the best. Also Stormcaller, which I've heard is massively broken, but I haven't had a chance to test that because I don't have that mythical relic. So in terms of gemstones, I mean, whatever best options you have here. I've got a turn meter increase effect one because I'm going to need him to be fast. And then also these are just like some gems that I threw in here. If he kills somebody, he gets even more ignore defense. And then he stacks crit damage. I just don't have many of these good triangle gems. I swear to God, the game doesn't want to give me a ton of the good ones. So is what it is. Let's take a look at the masteries. Oh, let's talk blessing actually quickly. This is what I had him in before. Frankly, I actually don't want to put polymorph on him. I think I'm just gonna go straight up. I think I'm just gonna go lightning cage, frankly. Lightning cage, because the stone skin could go heaven cast because he's putting buffs on himself. Nah, I think I'm gonna go lightning cage. That's what we're gonna roll here. You could also roll soul reap, frankly, as well. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea. Get a little soul reap on him, but we'll go lightning cage. I think I want to get away from the polymorph on him. You know what I mean? Although I guess technically you could go polymorph since he's immune to all these things, or should be at least. So that is actually a viable option on him. You could really go polymorph, but I'm going to go lightning cage to try to prevent him from getting stuff stripped in case I'm not fast enough. Masteries. Standard stuff here. Helm Smasher. You got Kill Streak. I've gone double counterattack because of that passive where if I kill someone, he's going to reset that cooldown on some of those skills. So I think counterattack does make sense with defense. You could also go support to maybe get his accuracy up a little bit, maybe get Cycle of Magic potentially if you want to like reduce his cooldowns. Possibly also Master Hexer, where you're extending the duration of those decreased defense debuffs, right? So you have different options there that you can run with, but those are probably your best choices. And then really, I've gone Cycle of Violence, I've gone Whirlwind of Death, again, trying to get some of these skills back faster. You don't necessarily need these because of the passive, frankly. You honestly could maybe even get rid of Cycle of Violence and go with something like, it's not stunning, so that doesn't really make sense. I don't really matter. You could go with this if you're putting out any kind of debuffs with him that aren't decreased defense, but it's not really super important either way. So, okay, I think that covers it. Let's take a look at the actual build. Again, I'm in Savage Stoneskin. I think Lethal Stoneskin, Savage Stoneskin, that's going to be your way to go for this champion. You could hypothetically do something like Merciless as well, but I like having the Stoneskin on there to protect him. Let's take a look at the pieces. We got a quad crit rate over here. What a juicy piece. Attack percentage. This is actually something I use usually on my attack nukers, but I switched it over to him, which is also why I've left the Ascension alone. Then we've got crit rate, speed, defense. There's some room to glyph this up. We've got defense with defense, crit rate, speed. Again, defense, crit damage. You're seeing a common theme here. Then down here, we got speed with speed. This is kind of a mediocre piece overall. Unfortunately, double roll defense here. Would have loved for it to roll on crit damage or even defense or crit rate, but hey, gets the job done. Defense with crit damage and speed with some defense ascensions. And then we've got crit damage with a crit damage ascension, HP percentage. I've talked about this in the past where I really lack good defense-based gloves for defense-based nukers. I don't have a lot that have really good defense rolls on them, surprisingly. So this is the best I've got at the moment. I think maybe my best one's on Marius. But for the accessories for the banner, we got a defense triple speed roll. Unfortunately, no defense down here, which is a bummer. Can also get another piece of pinpoint on him if I want to put him on Savage and I want to put him in Stone Skin, so we can't get any more speed. So it kind of is what it is. This has an accuracy ascension to kind of boost up his chance of landing some of those decrease buff duration type stuff, things like that. We've got crit damage with a crit damage ascension on the amulet. And then we've got a 5-star defensive Stone Skin ring because I do not have another 6-star one. My 6-star one is currently on Marius. So what does all of this add up to? It adds up to, I think his stats are a little bit better in the second form. So we'll take a look at that one. We get 7,300 defense. We get 65k HP, 292 speed, and 353% crit damage with 284 accuracy. Nothing world beating, right? I would love for this to be a little faster, more like 310. This might not be fast enough, frankly, to really take advantage of not getting broken into turn meter wise. But we're going to check it out and see either way. We're going to see what he's capable of doing. So these aren't insane stats for sure. Like crit damage is pretty good. The defense is just okay. The speed is good, but not elite. And the accuracy is relatively low. So we'll see kind of how it feels. Let's take him into Dragon per usual. Let me get rid of this red dot. The OCD kicks in super hard, my friends. Let's get Let's get into Dragon. Let's see what he can do here. Yes, we're on normal. Perfect. Look at that. We've already got everything set up from when I did my World's Strongest Regash video. We don't even need Sifi, though. That's the beautiful thing here. We literally don't even need her because he's going to self-buff anyway. So, Galleus, let's see what you can do, buddy. I'm curious. What's the damage like? Lydia throwing out some debuffs, decreased defense, weaken. All right. He self-buffs. He switches forms. Now, you actually might want to even consider lasting gifts if you're going with the accuracy tree, just so that you get a longer turn of the increased defense. That's the one downside here, is that when you switch over, you lose one turn of that. So I kind of wish that he had a 3-turn increased defense. But, you know, we're picking nits here, as they say. We're picking nits. All right, let's roll with the A2 first. We get what? 10% increased damage for each enemy under a decreased defense. So we're getting 50% increased damage. Let's see what we do. 502, 439. Not bad, right? Not incredible. Not incredible, but not bad. And look, he reset his skill, though, because he killed everybody. How cool is that? That is pretty freaking cool. I can't lie. I can't lie. I want to get that decrease or that increased defense up again. So we're going to go ahead and give it another go here. All right, throw out the debuffs again. Increase the defense. This time we'll lead right into the A3 and see what we do with the A3. So this is the A3. We're getting a 20% ignore defense because there are no buffs out there, as opposed to the increasing of damage if there were buffs. So let's see what we do here on the A3. 365. Pretty not awesome, honestly. That wasn't super strong. Let's try that again. Really did not blow me away. That the A3 would end up being weaker is kind of a bummer. Let's try that again. Again, we are self-buffing. Switch on over. We still have the increased defense. Everyone's got all the stuff up here. Let's take another hit with this A3. Honestly, not impressive. Not impressive, frankly. I'm a little disappointed that that's only like 350, 360, especially with a cat's gaze. You know what I mean? It really shows that you probably need to have buffs on people in order to get max value, where you're getting more of that increased damage by potentially 15, 30, 45, maybe 60% increased damage for each buff overall, you know, total. I'm kind of surprised that honestly did way less damage than I thought it would. I thought that would hit a lot harder. Let's take a look just at the A1, just out of curiosity. What do we do here? Nothing incredible, right? We don't have decreased defense up, nothing special. Let's get him into arena. I want to see how this actually plays. Really surprised by that, though. That did not seem like a super strong hitting attack. Now, I want to find a nice team, but unfortunately, Taurus Marichka kind of makes it harder because they're going to counterattack me and destroy me. That's the one big thing here. It's always Taurus Marichka, right? So let's see if we can find a nice team. Here we go. Without a Taurus Marichka, let's take a look at the profile. How strong are we on this? 27 mil, nothing crazy. Let's see what he can do here, right? All right. Let's take our buddy out. Let's put our good boy Galleus in here. Where is he? He is not here because he doesn't have an arena tag. Now he's here. Welcome back. Okay. Let's see if we're fast enough first and foremost. We're not going to get a speed aura with this, but that's okay. Now, the other thing with facing Marius, of course, is because his damage dealing form is on the second form, we're not going to be able to increase our defense because we might, frankly, get cooked with an enfeeble debuff, right? And that still applies even if the other stuff doesn't. Now, unless I stun him. If I stun him, now he can do it. Okay. Let's just go in, increase the defense, switch the form. All right. Again, let's start with the A. With the A2. Now, the only thing here is we're not getting a double hit. So what's going to happen with Nice, right? What's going to happen with Nice, indeed? He's just going to switch forms. Now, he was stunned there. Otherwise, he would have gotten a turn, right? Let's see if we can just see what kind of... Well, now we got Berserk up there, so this should absolutely kill. Yeah, it does. Insane damage with the Berserk. So this is another reason why Chrono Cube might make a lot of sense, is because then you get that extra turn where Nice doesn't get a chance. Or does he go immediately? I can't remember. Does he get an instant turn off that? He might get an instant turn, actually. Let's double check. His kit is so broken that I routinely forget parts of it. Increases soon. Hold on. If he switches here, he gets an instant turn, right? Deals 5% more damage to each champion. Also prevents champions, keep them alive 1 HP, and then transform them into their alternate form. Does he get the instant turn? I don't know if he does. I think we would actually get a chance to come in and do something. So you could possibly, with a Chrono Cube, get that second one off there. We'll try it with a Chrono Cube in a bit, just to make sure. Let's try her. Oh, this is good, because Harima, of course, going to reduce our ignore defense. This should be a really good test to see kind of damage-wise what is possible. We got a lot of stones getting in here, too. Do a little lockout. Can we strip any of this? Okay, we did get some strips. Nice. All right, we're going to buff again. Let's try the A3 and see what it does and see if we can decrease the duration of some of these stone skin buffs, right? Hey, blasted the living hell out of those guys. Absolutely blasted the Narcissus and the Harima, for that matter. Just put them down. Put them straight down. What about, oh, we get it back too. That's actually kind of sick. The fact that he gets the turns, the actual whatchamacallit back is pretty damn nasty. Like his skill cooldown, if he kills somebody, pretty freaking good. Let's try this. Commodus, Marius, Marichka. We won't get the increase. We won't get the increase defense here because I'm actually not going to use it. It's going to hold off. See if he takes a turn. Is he fast enough? Oh, well, this was a mistake. And there he goes. He was not fast enough. This is the downside, right? Got to have him be faster. Hold on. Let's go back in here. Let's go back in. Let's go back in. Not fast enough. Pain. Honestly, if I don't strip here, I'm just dead from Commodus. Okay, we did strip there. I don't trust that he's going to get a turn before anybody else. We could increase defense, but if we do, we lose the stone skin. So we have to just kind of switch. So let's see what he does without the increased defense. This way he doesn't get enfeebled. Hey, annihilated. Not bad. Not bad. He's also living from the Marius hits, which is great. Okay. Shuzen comes back. He gets a turn. Let's try the A2 again. Boom. Dead. There's real potential here, guys. There's real potential. Let's try him with a Chrono Cube, though. What does his damage end up being if he's got the Chrono Cube on as opposed to the Cat's Gaze, right? This is going to hurt because it costs so much to move these over. Jesus Christ, 960 star stones. Good Lord, this is absurd. Love it. Love it for me. Now, he still has a turn meter increase. None of these really do much. That's okay. All right, let's try here. Can we make this work with the Chrono Cube? Wait, why am I in live arena? Classic arena. Can we make this work with the Chrono Cube? Let's get a non-Marius team. Here we go. Let's try. One thing is for sure. He is definitely better. That is for certain. That is for certain. I mean, he was pretty damn terrible before. All right, we didn't strip over here. Let's make sure he goes. So, he buffs. He switches forms. We're going to lead, actually, with the A3 to see if we can strip some of these buffs. Didn't get it, but he did get the second form, the second attack, because the Chrono Cube. And then he skipped that he's going to skip his next turn. Or he skipped it, already skipped his turn? Hold on. I get so confused in this sometimes. You know what I mean? Okay, he skips this turn. So that's the one downside there, right? If you don't get the kill, he's out of commission for at least another turn. But still, pretty damn cool. And if you have other champions in here that can strip stone skin, you can do some nasty stuff. So say, for example, we go in here and instead of Odin, I don't know if my Empress, let's just try this. I don't know how fast my Empress is. I think he's missing a piece. I don't think. I know he's missing a piece. But let's just see. Okay. Empress goes. Get a little extra there. Remove that. Beautiful. Self buff. Switch over. No stone skin, right? Cook him. Boom. Gets the extra turn. Bam. Dead. Oh my goodness. Chrono Cube on this champion could be absolutely filthy good. As long as you're not facing a Marius, right? That's the big thing. If you face the Marius, you could be in trouble. Let's try him against a Siegfried. This is a team I think we're going to really struggle with here. Mike died with Hegemon right away with the Shuzen. Somehow didn't. You'd love to see it. All right. Lockout. Beautiful. Empress. Yes. Oh, the lightning cage protected it. Beep, boop, beep, boop. That's unfortunate. Switch forms. Let's try the A3. Oh. Well, probably should have just chilled. All right, we did get it up there, but now we've lost the block damage. He's going to skip his turn. Yep. Still really fun, though. Nope. Tried to get that up there. Didn't get it. Probably should have just gone with the A2, right? Oh, block damage up everywhere. And now we don't have it. Now we don't have it. This is why I should have just used the A2. We're cooked. But this was user error right here. This was user error. This is not Galleus' fault. This is my fault. Oh, he's got the block passive skills now, too. Oh, no, he's cooked. It's over. Maybe, maybe not. Hold on. Hey, my boy. It's still over. We still lose. But you know what? You saw the vision. You saw the vision. And that's a strong team, right? Let's try another Siegfried team. Obviously, Lightning Cage going to be like the bane of his existence. Certainly one of the things that makes him less likely to get his stuff off. But at least you can lock Siegfried out. Let's just try to switch. Hey, we actually stripped it that time. Let's go. The RNG was elite. And now, do we just get the second turn? He pulls up. Yeah. Too bad. Boom. Say goodnight. Dude, what a sick champion with the Chrono Cube. You see the vision, right, guys? You see the vision. I mean, look, his damage in the actual dragon stuff wasn't incredible, but still, like, he's doing some work here. All right, this is a horrible idea because this is going to counter him super hard. He's just going to get blitzed, but let's try it anyway. Let's try it anyway. All right. Can we just steal a bunch of stone skin? Or I should say, remove the stone skin. I'm actually going to increase defense here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to increase the defense. Oh, the true fear from the freaking Empress. Disgusting. He's going to skip his turn, so let's just... Good God, that ended up doing a ton of damage. Holy smokes. Everybody died. The Empress is so insane. Oh, what a submission now. Everyone's getting polymorph. It's getting crazy here. All the interactions, no one knows what the hell's going on anymore. You kill them all. Oh my God, dude. This shot, he's not even built right now, by the way. He's not built with damage. But we'll see. Can he kill him? No, he doesn't have the crit damage. Or the crit anything. But he certainly does. Boom. Dead. Dude, this champion has so much potential to be absolutely disgusting in arena. Absolutely disgusting. One more. Little Galathier action? Sure, why not? We're not going to be able to lock out here, so this could be a little rough. Yep, sure enough. Didn't get the lockout, but should get the strip. Not on the whatchamacallit, though, unfortunately. Now, again, he's benefiting from buffs. Like, we're not worried about him getting more buffs. That's actually good for us. Does he get the extra turn? He does. Blasts the Siegfried. He's the last guy left. Oh, just not enough damage to counter the Gallas there. Still, really, really, really cool champion. Great buff. Great buff, right? He doesn't seem broken in terms of damage. He's not like the hardest hitting champion in the game. For sure, right? Definitely not the hardest hitting champion in the game. But he's now actually good. And he serves a purpose. Like, he is viable in some ways against Nice. But I will say, having a Chrono Cube is really what allows him to take that next kind of step. Like, getting those extra turns, it's like one of those things that really unleashes and unlocks that secondary form. He's still very good, I think, without it. Absolutely a champion that you will see in Arena now for sure. And again, I think probably one of the better overall Nice counters just in general, even without the Chrono Cube, because you have the ability to go through block damage and you do have the right affinity where you might not get killed by Nice. So I think overall, this is a very good buff. This is a very good buff. Makes him usable, makes him a champion you're happy to have, happy to see. Good job. Good job. I don't think I really have any notes here. Would I like to have a little more damage? Yeah, sure. You know what I mean? But of course I would. You know, who wouldn't want a little more damage? But even where he's at right now, you saw he did pretty solid damage. He was able to put some people down. So definitely something we desperately needed. We needed this buff. We needed a champion that could be a nice counter. I think he can fill that role. I think he has the ability to do that. You know, did I ever take a Nice on? Hold on. With the Chrono Cube? I don't know if I did. Let me go back in here. Let's make sure we do one Nice with the Chrono Cube. Because now I'm like, did I ever actually do it? I don't know if I did. But now we're going to do it just to be safe. I got to make sure, guys. I at least got to try. I think the biggest thing is Lightning Cage, right? Ooh, Magma Shield too. Magma Shield as well. All right. Oh, did I just my mouse die? Okay, I was like, where'd my mouse go? Oh, now I've messed up the entire look. Okay, there we go. Yeah, close enough. Okay, resisted. All right, got rid of that. That's good. He's got a True Fear, but I'm not even going to try. We're just going to try it without the increased defense and just see what we do here. I mean, dude, look at that. Look at that damage. Does he get the extra turn? Is that counterattack? No, he does get to go first. Oh, that's so dumb. But you know what? Doesn't matter. Get wrecked. Now, he could have chosen to drill me. He could have chosen to drill me there with the feather thing. So it's still problematic. This champion is still really hard to counter. You kind of have to have someone get Nice. I guess you still have to kind of like control Nice in order to make this work. Golly goodness, why is this champion so damn difficult to deal with? He should not get an instant turn. He should not. He should not get an instant turn when he switches forms. It's just ridiculous. My God. I mean, seriously, right? Am I crazy or am I crazy? We did get the strip. Didn't get it on Siegfried. We forced him in there. What did he die to? Necrosis? I don't even know. What did he die to? Oh, he didn't proc the Chrono, though, did he? Now he proc the Chrono. Now he's going to skip his turn. She dies. Oh, my God. This is why, I mean, I need my Empress belt here. You can see that it's kind of screwing me, but it's not belt. Ay, 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 ay. It's still so difficult to kill this champion. It seriously is so difficult, man. I can't get over how broken this champion is still. Even with the right affinity. Even with the right affinity, this is still an absolute nightmare to kill this guy. All right. We got the damage up there, but look. Look at how little it did. Jesus Christ. Nothing is a Nice counter. There is no ability to counter Nice. Even the champion that supposedly should do it is not able to do it because you can't get enough damage. Look at how little damage we did there. Now, he's got strengthen on and all sorts of stuff, but still. I mean, holy crap, man. Oh God, I guess I spoke too soon. I got too excited. This champion is fucking broken, guys. You know what I mean? I hate to end the video on this note, but I'm actually glad that I did, that I came back here because I was so excited, right? And this is not a poorly built Galleus. This champion is fucking broken, okay? Here you have a champion that should ideally counter him, and once he gets in the second form, it just doesn't matter. You can't do enough damage. You know what I mean? You just can't do enough damage. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Oh, well. Welcome to Plarium, where we don't, Raid Shadowlands, where we don't actually balance champions with reasonable nerfs. This champion is not even a +1 or +2 nice, nor fully awakened. It is literally a baseline nice. And it is so strong that Galleus, the right affinity with a block damage avoidance, is not able to do enough damage to take him down. Holy crap, that is stupid. Well, look, I still feel it's a good buff, but it's clearly not good enough because the main problem in the game, in Arena, is nice. And sure enough, a champion that should counter him still can't do it. What else are you going to say, man? What else are you going to say? Back to the drawing board. Looks like this cock is still not girthy enough. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you enjoy this showcase? Were you high on him and now you're not as high? Like, I'm kind of crushed watching that nice fight. I really thought this champion would be the nice cooker. Now I'm sad. Still good, still a good buff, still usable, still a good champion, but man, damn, nice is just broken. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. Big Papa Drock, out.